Cinco de Mayo Denver Society of Creation meeting. And tonight we have Kirby. I'm very excited. The first time I saw him was probably a couple decades ago at a homeschool conference in Illinois. Was thrilled with him then. Probably, I don't even remember. We were out of Rockford at the time. So, as far as the agenda, what I'm doing now, the welcome. Yes? Yeah, okay. And we'll have some announcements, and after, we'll just kind of some things that are going to be going on later. So after Carl, we'll do the announcements, the Lord's Prayer, and a song. So what I know about Carl is he grew up around a bunch of pro wrestlers as a kid. A guy is named Crusher and whatever else, right? And and very dynamic speaker, very energetic, has a passion for the youth. He grew up in Sunday school learning that evolution was compatible with the Bible. And after having been an air traffic controller for a number of years, Chicago is a tough place to be an air traffic controller. And he had some pilots, when he brought up evolution, kind of straighten him out. They opened their Bible and they taught him the truth about creation, and he really became on fire. He's got an apologetics ministry called Reasons for Hope. Does a lot of really neat, some of you know all about this, but, and their debunked videos are really great, information-packed, and make great points, make you think. So it's beautiful ministry. And Reacteria was the subject tonight, so we'll come to find out soon what that means and what he intends in that. With that, how about we have an opening prayer? Dear Father in heaven, thank you for the blessing of all the people here tonight. Thank you for leading who you want to hear this message here. And I pray that you would bless Carl, that the message, he would, the Spirit, your Holy Spirit would go out with the words, and that we would be impacted and learn and grow in our faith and be more excited about witnessing to the world out there, especially our fellow Christians. It's really sad how many of our kids are leaving the church. They don't see the relevance. Thank you for relevance ministries like Reasons for Hope that bring it back to, hey, this is part of life. This is part of reality, and Christianity speaks of reality better than any other religion. So be with us tonight and bless this talk. Pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Well, good evening. Give me, I've got to change the computer around here. Yeah, that's a PC, and I can't work with PCs. Thank you all for coming this evening. I hope that I can step on your toes. I didn't remember that it was Cinco de Mayo. I guess I got to be kind of nice because that's a special day. Why is Cinco de Mayo so big? Educate me. Why is Cinco de Mayo so big? What's it celebrating? Mexican Independence Day. Oh, okay. That makes sense. That's why we're celebrating it. Okay. All right. Now, how many of you are familiar with debunked videos? Obviously very popular. Yeah, 3 of you. Because in full disclosure, as I look around here this evening, the vast majority of you are not my demographic. I am going after your children and your grandchildren. All right? So this evening might be pushing you guys a little bit to the edge, and I admit that. I will do my best to slow down, but it will not be easy because I'm wired. We've got so many things coming after our younger generation that I think it's time that we go after them as well. And so that's a decision that I made about 12 years ago, was to really put an emphasis on them. So Reacteria, I know if you saw the title, you're like, what is Reacteria? I didn't know what Reacteria was until about 2 months ago. There's a gentleman named Forrest Valkai, and he's got a TikTok channel. Ever hear of TikTok? Yeah. YouTube as well, and his channel is called Reacteria, and he is an evolutionist. So he came after one of our debunked videos, which 97% of you don't have a clue what they are, but you'll find out what they are as we go along. So I call this Answering Skeptics Forrest Valkai Reacteria, because what he did is he went after one of our debunked videos, which is called, make sure that we are on the same page here, The Fossil Record Proves Evolution Debunked. Okay? That's the name of the debunked video. That's very important that you know that, because that's what we're doing. And remember that as you listen, because here's the way that I do things, especially with this younger generation. Just straight lecture doesn't work real well with younger generation too much anymore. You need some sort of interaction type thing. So he attacked us. It's a 4.5-minute video. He did a 32-minute hatchet job on it, quite frankly. Well, I've done a 5-hour response. So I hope you brought your dinner. No, we're going to do a condensed version tonight, but you can watch the whole thing if you want. How many of you in here have a smartphone? Anybody have a smartphone? Okay, iPad. Anybody got an iPad? Okay, if you've got your smartphone with you, take it out, because I'm going to show you how you can get access to the full thing right now. All you need to do is go to your app store and type in RFORH, R for H. It stands for Reasons for Hope. Look for the blue, when you search, it should be the number one search that comes up. It'll look like this, a blue asterisk on a black background. And this is our app. And inside of our app, there's hours of video content. It's all free. So I'm not trying to sell you anything. So some of you are sitting out there, I don't do smart devices. Do you have children and grandchildren that do smart devices? Then guess what? You want to take this information and get them on it, because this is who it really is geared for, the younger generation. And so it actually works on Roku, and it works on Apple TV as well. So if you do those things, you can watch those on your television set. And this is what it looks like. These are all the tabs. That's the debunk tab right there. This is debunking Forrest right here, where the 5-hour response will be if you really want to go and watch it. We don't do it all 5 hours, one thing. We're breaking it down into 15-minute segments. But anyway, so there you go. Tonight, starting off with Colossians, all right? Colossians 2:8. See to it that no one takes you captive by philosophy and empty deceit, according to human tradition, according to the elemental spirits of the world, and not according to Christ. We live in a world where there's a definite battle going on. Those of you that deal with creation ministry, you're aware. You've seen it. You've seen it increasing over time. But I'm here to tell you that it's increasing at rates that I don't think anybody could have dreamed of, especially with the younger generation. Satan doesn't play fair. He's coming after them, no holds barred. And one of the big tools that they'll use is condescension, mocking, ridicule, big time. And so I think we need to be prepared for it. We produced that debunked video that the fossil record proves evolution debunked. Forrest found it on TikTok. Yes, we have a TikTok channel. You know, I got people mad at me. Christians got mad at me. What are you doing on TikTok? Christians shouldn't be on TikTok. Excuse me, who's on TikTok primarily? Lost people. Where should Christians be involved? With lost people. If I was changing the message to get into that environment, I should not be there. Am I changing the message? Absolutely not. We're calling them out, man. And as a matter of fact, we're so successful that this guy got wound up and really came after us. And we'll go through this. So let's take a listen to what he says, because here's the way that I do things. We watch, we break down. Because to me, we've got to teach a generation not what to think. That's what was done to me. We need to teach them how to think. How do we take the arguments that the world is throwing at us and deal with them? Because if you teach how to think, then I believe you can see some good things happen with this generation. But right now, they're getting chewed up and spit out. Because the minute they throw out what they've been taught, and this person over here counteracts it and then brings in 100 people to back up their position, and now they're the lone stranger, what happens? As a minimum, they become quiet. I'm not quiet. We need some boldness. We need some backbone in the body of Christ, and that's what I'm going after in this younger generation. So, you know what you're getting right from the very beginning. Here's Forrest.
Today, I'm going to be reacting to this video called Debunked, The Fossil Record Proves Evolution, published by Reasons for Hope. And I'm so excited to react to this video because I found out about this video on TikTok. Reasons for Hope has a TikTok channel just like I do, and they published this video there in 2 parts.
All right. Yes, we have a TikTok channel. We have 15,400 followers. Yes, he has a TikTok channel. He has 1.3 million followers. After he went after our video, prior to him doing this, we were getting anywhere from 1,000 to 30 to 40,000 views on our videos. And you know what surprised me overwhelmingly? The comments and the responses that we had were positive. It was mind-blowing that we were having a lot of really positive conversations. He sees what we're doing. He does his 30-minute hatchet job on us. And then 100 to 200 of his followers every day, have you heard shadow banning in the news? Yeah. That was me. What is it? Shadow banning. Well, we got shadow banned. So here's what happens is that 100 to 200 of his followers, every time we post a video, they submit a complaint to TikTok. And they say, this is fake news. This is bad information. And so then what happens, because they get so many complaints about the video, it will not spread. Social media is a very dirty place. It's a very dirty place. And so all of a sudden our videos went from getting minimum of 1,000 views, 20, 30,000 views, to 20 views, 30 views. So the young lady that we have that runs our social media, she has been working nonstop because they thought they were going to run us off. I'm not leaving. Forget that. She's been working for the last month. Now she's got it back to where just today we were talking about it. Our videos are back to the 1,000 view range and that sort of a thing. But she is having to work nonstop. When they attack these, she has to pull it down. She has to put it up at a different time. It's dirty. So that's what happened here. His 1.3 million followers really came after us. And so we took his arguments, and let's see if there's any meat to them, see if there's any validity to them, and see if we have any answers to them. So let's keep going and listening to what he has to say, and then see if we can't respond. What? That didn't work. What happened to that video? Okay. The video didn't work. Well, you know, oh, there we go. Come on. Now it'll work. I hope. I want to double check something here real quick. Yep. Now it should start. Okay.
We've unearthed millions of fossils around the world. So with all this evidence, so to speak, it's clear that the fossil record proves evolution, right?
This is debunked.
Actually, no. Didn't when Darwin was alive and hasn't since he's been gone. In fact, Chucky D himself knew this when he wrote the following. Geology assuredly does not reveal any such finely graduated organic chain. And this, perhaps, is the most obvious and gravest objection which can be urged against my theory. The explanation lies, as I believe, in the extreme imperfection of the geological record.
Okay, first of all, you said here that this quote is from chapter 10 of On the Origin of Species. It isn't. It's from chapter 9. And if you grab your copy of On the Origin of Species and you open it up to chapter 9, you'll see here that this chapter is titled On the Imperfection of the Geological Record.
Okay. Here's our quote. Geology assuredly does not reveal, right? And what did we say? We said chapter 10. So he's right. We did say chapter 10. So let me open up my copy of Origin of Species. And it says chapter 10 on the imperfection of the geological record. And then let's go from chapter 10, read over here. Geology assuredly does not. So yes, we were right that it is chapter 10, but we were wrong. In that, we said it was 1859. We got the wrong date. It was actually from 1872 version, but we will fix that in the video. Thank you for pointing it out. We made a mistake. But in the reality of things, this is misdirection. Any of you like illusionists? Do you guys like going and watching a magic show? Anybody? Anybody? No? You guys are boring. Come on, man. If it's a good illusionist, thank you. Thank you. One person with some energy. Yeah, I mean, how do they do what they do? Illusion, man, misdirection. And this is exactly what he just did. He's a master of it, quite frankly. Because if he dealt with the quote, that would be different. But what is he dealing with? The fact that I gave you a wrong date. Well, if the fact that I got the wrong date means that everything that we said was wrong, then watch this.
Called Debunked, the Fossil Record Proves Evolution.
What's the name of the debunked video? It is not Debunked, the Fossil Record Proves Evolution. It is the Fossil Record Proves Evolution Debunked. So I can't believe anything else that this man has just said because he butchered the title. See, this is game playing, guys, and this is one of the things that we have to point out to this generation. People are going to misdirect, they're going to mock, they're going to ridicule. Don't be deceived. Deal with the meat. I will change the date, but let's deal with the meat.
So he wasn't admitting that the fossil record debunks the idea of evolution here. He was being academically honest and saying, here's a potential argument against what I'm saying, and here's my counter argument to that.
Okay, let's go back and read this quote again. Hold me accountable, guys. I mean, hold me accountable. This is the quote. Geology assuredly does not reveal, hold up, does not what? Reveal any such finely graduated organic chain. So what is he saying? There's no evidence. That was our point. The fossil record proves evolution debunked. He's saying that the fossils do not do that. And then he goes on, and this perhaps is the most obvious and gravest objection which can be urged against my theory. By the way, you really want to go into it? Take a look at what Darwin wrote just before that quote. Just before that quote. All right? And here's what he says just before this quote that I gave you. But as by this theory innumerable transitional forms must have existed, why do we not find them embedded in countless numbers in the crust of the earth? What's he telling us? The fossil record does not prove evolution. It doesn't. He goes on, why is not every geological formation and every stratum full of such intermediate links? And then he gives the quote that we quoted. So he absolutely did admit that they didn't have the fossils to support evolution. But wait, there's more.
The explanation lies, as I believe, in the extreme imperfection of the geological record. He's saying that the incomplete fossil record is caused by the imperfect geological record. You're using his explanation as if it's part of the problem, and it's not.
Oh my. We have such a poor critical thinking generation. Did you guys just hear what he said? All right. Geology assuredly does not reveal any such finely graduated organic chain, and this perhaps is the most obvious and gravest objection which can be urged against my theory. But you can't use that as evidence that there's no fossils to prove evolution. Why? Because we have an excuse. And here's our excuse. The explanation lies, as I believe, in the extreme imperfection of the geological record. You see, you can't use that there's no fossils to support evolution because the geologic record hasn't shown them to us. So we have an excuse for not having the fossils. Hello? Did I already put you guys to sleep? I mean, I want you to think about this critically. I work with younger generation a lot, so forgive me here. So here we go. Top reasons why you don't have your homework, okay? Top reason, you tell me if any teachers are going to go for these excuses. Number one, right, is what do you mean we had homework, right? I didn't know we had any homework. Is that going to work? It's not going to work. How about this one? I was too tired to just do it, right? Not going to go good. So I did some digging. Why I didn't do my homework. Volume 1, let me give you a few of the really good reasons why I didn't do my homework. And you tell me if you think it's going to work. And it's going to shut the argument down here. Here's one. Good one. My brother's friend came to our home yesterday and told us he could eat paper. I didn't believe him. So he decided to show how much paper he could eat and grabbed my homework by mistake right out of my desk. I didn't see it was my homework until it was too late. You think the teacher's going to say, oh, yeah, gosh, that's a real valid reason for not having your homework. They're going to go for it? Okay. All right, how about this one? My dad needs a paper shredder for work, and it was delivered to our home yesterday. He wanted to test it out and mistakenly used my homework when I wasn't there. You think it's going to work? Okay, this one will. This is a good one. A lot of thought going in this one. Yesterday, I didn't have time to complete my homework because I was at the rally all day. The rally was calling for an increase to teacher pay, so I had to be there. That'll work, right? But you tell me, the bottom line is what? We didn't have the homework. What's the bottom line with this right here? We don't have any fossils to support our position. I don't care if you got 100 reasons. I don't care if you got 100 excuses. You don't have the evidence. That's exactly what Darwin said. And by the way, more, but that's later.
I also want to point out just how weird and silly this whole argument is. First of all, Darwin did have lots of fossils at his disposal. He even discovered a few species through the fossils that he himself unearthed.
Did we say that they didn't have any fossils? Did we say that Darwin hadn't discovered any fossils? Did we say that Darwin didn't name some species of fossils? What did we say? We said the fossil record proves evolution debunked. That's what we said. By the way, why is it weird and silly to point out that geology assuredly does not reveal any such finely graduated organic chain? Why is that weird and silly? This is your guy. He said that there's no evidence. And by the way, it wasn't just him. Let's go more modern time here. John Pickrell, Flying Dinosaurs. But when Darwin, now think about this. When Darwin published on the Origin of Species in 1859, no transitional fossils had been found. Why is that weird and silly to point out? Oh, because it's gotten better over the years. Really? Today, after several centuries of collecting the fossil record, is surprisingly patchy. But in Darwin's day, it was even more problematic to use it as evidence for the kind of gradual change through evolution that he proposed. It has not gotten any better. And we'll flesh that out even more as we go along, because that's one of the points that he wants to make.
Secondly, though, even if he didn't have any fossils, it wouldn't matter. This book was published in 1859. We've discovered a lot more fossils since then. Millions, by your own admission.
Exactly right. Did we say they don't have fossils? No, they got fossils. Here's the point, though. What do those fossils support? What does the evidence actually support? Does it support slow changes over millions of years? Or does it support sudden appearance and then stasis? Well, let me take you to some modern day guys. Let me take you to Niles Eldredge. He said, Darwin, prophesied, I love that word. Did you catch that word? You know we're dealing with another religion here. It is a religion, right? Prophesied that future generations of paleontologists would fill in the gaps by diligent search. 120 years of paleontological research later, it has become abundantly clear that the fossil record will not confirm this part of Darwin's predictions. Hello? It gets better. Nor is the problem a miserably, are you hearing this? Nor is the problem a miserably poor record. The fossil record simply shows that this prediction was wrong. So that's what Niles Eldredge said. So his excuse is worse than I'm too tired. The dog ate it. The kid shredded it. Worse than that, doesn't work. The geologic record argument is gone. That's not the issue. Let me take you to another guy, Ernst Mayr. Given the fact of evolution, oh, that's a good one. One would expect the fossils to document a gradual steady change from one ancestral form to their descendants, but this is not what the paleontologist finds. Instead, he or she finds gaps in just about every phyletic series. New types often appear quite suddenly, and then their immediate ancestors are absent in the geological strata. What's that support? Not slow gradual processes. That supports exactly what we would expect to find if God's word was true. This raises the puzzling question: why does a fossil record fail to reflect the gradual change one would expect from evolution? I got an answer. Because it never happened. It never happened. And that's why the fossil record proving evolution is debunked, because it does not do that. Oh. This thing is acting up on me for some reason. I'm sorry.
I realize that this is really tough to understand if you're a super dogmatic person, but in science, we don't follow people. We follow evidence.
I'm trying not to be snarky, right? I'm trying not to repay evil with evil, right? We don't follow people. We follow evidence. Look, let's put aside the personal attack for a second, all right? And let's do exactly what he said that they do. Let's follow evidence.
Darwin is not the final arbiter of biology. He got some stuff right. He got some stuff wrong.
Boy, did he get some stuff wrong. By the way, any of you have a sleeping disorder where you find it very hard to go to sleep at night? By origin of species. You do not need a sleep study. You don't need a CPAP. You will sleep. Just start reading that joker. And the vast majority of the information that was in Origin of Species is no longer accepted. The only thing that's really accepted still to this day from Origin of Species is the mechanism. Not the examples, the mechanism. Because one of the examples that he used in the original one, this is good. In North America, right here, in North America, the black bear was seen by Hearn, I don't know how to pronounce it, swimming for hours with widely open mouth, thus catching, like a whale, insects in the water. Even in so extreme a case as this, if the supply of insects were constant, and if better adapted competitors did not already exist in the country, I could see no difficulty in a race of bears being rendered, by natural selection, more and more aquatic in their structure and habits, with larger mouths till a creature was produced as monstrous as a whale. So you see, that's how we got the whales, is because we had bears swimming in the lakes eating bugs. You think he got that one wrong? Oh, he got that one wrong. That was way wrong. It was taken out. It's not in their latest edition, trust me. But by the way, think about the whole whale evolution thing, period. Now they've graduated. It wasn't a bear swimming around. It was a wolf-like animal that went back into the ocean. So yes, and here's one of those examples. Ambulocetus, that wolf-like animal that went back into the ocean. Guys, we need to deal with this one very quickly because we want to follow the evidence. Isn't that what he said? Follow the evidence? Well, there's the evidence, Carl. That proves that a wolf-like animal went back into the ocean to become a whale. There it is. When you go to the Smithsonian, when you go to the Denver Museum of Natural History, when you go to these major museums, this is exactly the evidence you're going to see. And some of the big evidence to prove that it was a walking whale was the ear bone, the cheekbone, and the blowhole. Let's deal with each one of them. Okay?
All right, so how do you know this is a whale?
We know that this is a whale because of its ear.
So we know it's a whale because of its ear. Have any of you seen any of the, what's his name, Carl Warner? His book that he's got out? It's a really good book on the transitional fossils. You guys haven't seen it? I'd highly recommend it. Just look up Carl Werner and it'll come up. It's on the major creation stores. It's really well done. That guy, Carl, he went and he interviewed the guy that is talking there and asked about the ear bone. Take a listen to what this guy said about the ear bone when he was being asked direct questions.
Now, is that sigmoid process unquestionable? Because I know that on Pachycetus there were some questions about that one. It was more like a plate or something. Is this one
No, this one is as questionable.
The sigmoid process, that ridge right there, is the thing that supposedly proved that this was a walking whale. And when he was asked point blank, does this prove it? What does he say? We follow the evidence. How about the cheekbone? Look, I don't even need to go to an expert on this one, okay? This is what a dolphin looks like, their cheekbone. It's very skinny. This is ambulocetus. Hello? Really skinny, right? Guys, this is a horse. A horse has more of a skinny cheekbone than the ambulance. That's a big old honking bone. Forget about the cheekbone showing that it was a walking whale. Oh, but then the blowhole. Now think about this. This is very important. Because if you're going to turn a wolf-like animal, where are the nostrils on a wolf-like animal? The tip of its nose. Where is the nostril on a whale? On the top of its head. So you have to have the nose holes migrating up to the top of the head, and boy howdy, ambulocetus has a nasal opening about a third of the way up on the skull. We're done. They got evidence for evolution. That's what they actually found. That's the actual skull. Now, let's fill it in the way that they filled it in, okay? See the nose hole? Oh, it's migrating up to the top of the head. Well, this is what they found. This is the reconstruction. Anybody see a problem? We're following the evidence, thank you very much. We don't follow people. Take a listen.
So the shape of the skull is based on the fossils that we have, and so we have the parts that have the eye and the brain case and the back of the snout. We don't have the tip of the snout, which is unfortunate because we don't know where the nasal opening was, therefore.
So we don't know that it was there, but when you go to the museum, guess where you see it? And by the way, do you think they have any signage at these things saying, oh, this is all speculation? No, they do not. Which is why your group and every parent group that I ever get a chance to talk to is I highly encourage you to start using the museums and the zoos for ministry. Your tax dollars are paying for your kids to be lied to with these reconstructions. We need to be there pointing out they didn't even have that. They just added it in there to fit the worldview. So those three things that prove this was a walking whale, see ya. So much for following evidence and not people.
But surely after all the time since Darwin, digging and discovering fossil after fossil, we have a more perfect geological record that supports evolution, right? Not even close, bud. Listen to how two renowned evolutionary biologists summarize the truth. Instead of finding the slow, smooth, and progressive changes, they saw in the fossil record rapid bursts of change, new species appearing seemingly out of nowhere and then remaining unchanged for millions of years, patterns hauntingly reminiscent of creation.
But there was no turning back, and biologists have, for the past century, fought over how best to explain the diversity of life. Does it arise from the gentle molding of genes by natural selection, or are there powerful, invisible hands at work that visit revolutionary changes upon the biotic world?
So we quoted the first part of the book, all right? He's got some magic dust going on here. This is some more of that magic stuff. This he read further in the back of the book, but there was no turning back, and biologists have for the past century fought over how best to explain the diversity of life. Does this take away from the quote that we gave? What did he say in the first quote? That the evidence looked as if it fit creation. Does this take away the fact that the evidence supported creation? To explain the diversity of life, does it arise from the gentle molding of genes by natural selection, or are there powerful invisible hands at work that visit revolutionary changes upon the biotic world? What do you think? This takes away. Does this take away the fact that the evidence supports creation, as the man said? It doesn't take it away. As a matter of fact, it supports my position. Why? Because Are there powerful, invisible hands at work? Yeah. Let me tell you who he is. And that's at least one of the options, because you gave me two of them. And yours doesn't work. Mine does.
That quote that you just used was pulled from a review that Mark Pagel wrote about a book called The Pattern of Evolution. He wasn't saying that the fossil record supports creationism. He was giving a history of science and explaining how early evolutionary biologists were struggling to get away from the creationist model that had been so prevalent for so long. You just took an evolutionary biologist's review of a book about evolutionary biology and cited it as a scientific argument for creationism. What is wrong with you?
You know what I just did? I just quoted an evolutionist. Do I believe that he believed in evolution? I know he believes in evolution. No argument. Did I say that he doesn't believe in evolution? No. Did I say that he believed in creation? No. I read his quote, and his quote was very clear. Instead of finding the slow, smooth, and progressive changes Lyell and Darwin had expected, they saw in the fossil record rapid bursts of change, new species appearing seemingly out of nowhere and then remaining unchanged for millions of years, patterns hauntingly reminiscent of creation. That's what I did, is I quoted him, who is an evolutionist, who believes in evolution, but he said that the fossil doesn't support it. I don't know how I messed that one up. Oh, I'll tell you what, let's go to another guy. Let's go to Richard Lewontin. Our willingness to accept scientific claims that are against common sense is the key to an understanding of the real struggle between science and the supernatural. We take the science, in spite of the patent absurdity of some of its constructs, in spite of its failure to fulfill many of the extravagant promises of health and life, in spite of the tolerance, oh, this is good, of the scientific community for unsubstantiated just so stories, because we have a commitment to materialism. This is not a science problem. This is not an evidence problem. It's a worldview problem. No matter how counterintuitive, no matter how mystifying to the uninitiated, for we cannot allow a divine foot in the door. This is not a science problem. This is an interpretation of the evidence, and that is going to be distorted because of your worldview.
The fossil record doesn't show gradual change, and every paleontologist has known that ever since Cuvier, or however you pronounce that.
Do you know what that quote was about? Punctuated equilibrium. It's a model for understanding the fossil record. It doesn't go against evolution. It's a way of understanding evolution. Do you know who came up with the idea of punctuated equilibrium? Stephen Jay Gould.
Oh my. Stephen Jay Gould. Stephen Jay Gould. We don't follow people. Stephen Jay Gould. I was probably reading Stephen Jay Gould stuff before this guy was born, right? You were as well. What did Stephen Jay Gould write? Well, let's go take a look at what he said. This sorry situation led us to postulate our alternative model of punctuated equilibrium. Punctuated equilibrium. Boom, mic drop. That shuts you down, Carl. It all depends on what's the sorry situation. What was the sorry situation that he needed to come up with punctuated equilibria? Let's let him tell us. I don't want to put words in his mouth. Let's see. An average species of fossil invertebrates lives 5 to 10 million years. Now, I don't believe those dates, but it's one thing stayed one thing is all it's saying. During this time, they rarely change in any fundamental way. They become extinct without issue, looking much as they did when they first appeared. The absence of fossil evidence for intermediary stages between major transitions in organic design, indeed our inability even in our imagination to construct functional intermediates in many cases, has been a persistent and nagging problem for gradualistic accounts of evolution. So what's this sorry situation that he's talking about? The absence of fossil evidence. That's the sorry situation. How about this? There's more. The extreme rarity of transitional forms in the fossil record persists as a trade secret of paleontology. The evolutionary trees that adorn our textbooks have data only at the tips and nodes of their branches. The rest is inference. Is that evidence? No, because he goes on to say, however reasonable, not the evidence of fossils. That's why they came up with punctuated equilibria. The long-term stasis, what's that mean? One thing stayed one thing, never changed from or into anything else. What should I expect to find if God did what he said that he did the way that he said that he did it? One thing stayed one thing, never changed from or into anything else. Following a geologically abrupt origin. Hello? What's that mean? Things just appeared on the scene. What should I expect to find if God did it that way? God spoke, bang, it happened. And most morphospecies has always been recognized by professional paleontologists. So that's the sorry situation that led to punctuated equilibria. Let's take his co-founder of it, Niles Eldredge again. No wonder paleontologists shied away from evolution for so long. Why? Because it never seemed to happen. This is the sorry situation that Stephen Jay Gould. But we don't follow people. Yeah, that's Stephen Jay Gould. I know who he is. And I know what punctuated equilibria is. And I'm supposed to be intimidated because you want to mock me? I'm not intimidated, man. His quotes were very clear. It doesn't support it.
But I did find this exact quote cited in this book here called Creation and Evolution, Compatible or in Conflict by Jay Seegert.
Now, y'all have had Jay here, am I right? Somebody just told me that you saw Jay speak, no? Oh, but it wasn't here? It was your, I think. Well, Jay is a friend, and here's where it got really interesting. Because for 15 minutes, he railed on Jay Seegert and his lack of credentials. Did he ever address the quote? Never. He just railed on the guy because he had a lack of credentials. Guys, mysticism. Don't pay attention. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. That's all it is.
Okay, I could go on and on, but there's always going to be opposing views because on both sides of the debate, the same evidence is interpreted through different worldviews. You got to remember that, people. Facts don't say anything. People say things based on their interpretation of facts influenced by their worldview. But that's a whole other subject, and I don't want to get into it right now.
That part's actually true.
Yes! Yes! I'm not a complete failure. Got one thing right. But that doesn't sell tickets. You got to have conflict to sell tickets. So let's see. See how long he likes us.
The point is, this part of the video is half right. People can come to wildly different conclusions based on the same evidence because they have different worldviews.
Still okay, not totally in, but we're still good. We got a bromance going on here. Not for long.
But the problem is, evolution is not a worldview. It's a fact.
Yeah, so much for the bromance. Let me try this. You tell me if this is going to work when I go out and start dealing with the lost folks. The problem is, creation is not a worldview, it's a fact. Is it going to work? They're going to accept that? Then why in the world should I accept this? Evolution is a fact. Really? I'm a weird one. By the way, when you get your smart device out again and you go to your app store, type in 1828, the date, 1828, 1828 dictionary. You'll find multiple ones on there. Download the free version. You don't need to pay for it, okay? But you want the 1828 dictionary because words have meaning. And what you're going to find is that the further back you go to the origin of words, they're very different than words today. Type in the word science as an example. Type in the word science in an 1828 dictionary. Compare it with the modern day dictionary definition of science, and you will understand why he can do the things that he's doing right now. Because you see, science has evolved. As a matter of fact, 1828 dictionary, they talk about God when talking about science. Modern day dictionary, naturalistic processes. What gives them the right to redefine the term? The fact that there's 400,000 churches and we've disappeared from the culture, quite frankly, okay? Evolution is a fact. What's a fact? I want to know. I went to Britannica and I looked it up. Something that truly exists or happens, something that has actual existence. Does that work with evolution? No. How about number 2? A true piece of information. Oh. Does that work with evolution? Depends on your definition. Really depends on your definition. How do you define evolution? Let's go to Merriam-Webster. They quote Stephen Jay Gould. Stephen Jay Gould. Stephen Jay Gould. Descent with modification from pre-existing species. Excuse me. If this is evolution, descent with modification from pre-existing species, what should there be? Evidence for it. Is there any evidence for it? No. So don't jam that down my throat, because I've given you the same Stephen Jay Gould that said that there's no evidence for it. Cumulative inherited change in a population of organisms that through time leading to the appearance of new forms. If that happened, there should be evidence for it. And there is no evidence for it. I've already given you the quotes for it, and we could go through the thing. So, evolution is a fact? No. Unless you define evolution in a very specific way. We'll get to it.
Scientists are debating how evolution happens and why evolution happens, but they are not debating if evolution happens.
Maybe they should be. Just because they're not doing it doesn't mean that it's accurate. Let me try this again. My buddy Bub, the co-creator of Debunked. All right, here we go. Christians are debating how creation happened and why creation happened, but they are not debating if creation happened. Gonna work? Then why should I take yours? Unless you define evolution in a very specific way, it doesn't work. So let me take you to Bill Nye the Science Guy. He's kind of popped back into the prominence. Younger generation know who he is. They'd forgotten about him. But he came back, and now we show Bill Nye the Science Guy is coming back into play. And so we have our definition for evolution, right? Descent with modification from pre-existing species. That's why in his intro, he had the whole thing in there. Let's see how this works. Let's see how you got from here to here. Which, by the way, you know what this original chart is from, right? The Time book series called March of Progress. How many of you downloaded the app? Come on, 3 people, you're killing me. Go to merch, the tab merch. It's the very last tab. There's a merch. No, go to Carl's Tools. This is good. I wish I had a lot longer with you guys. Because when you go to Carl's Tools, you guys need to see this. Sorry, I'm moving on you. I think it's Presenters Tools. And under Presenters Tools, Carl's Tools, yes. So if you go to, when you download the app, you go to Presenters Tools, PT, not physical therapy, Presenters Tools. And then under there it has Carl's Tools. And then under that are all these things. And the very top one, March of Progress Debunked. This is the original book that chart came from, that went into every classroom on this planet almost, in the science classrooms, to prove that we came from an ape-like ancestor. I found the book about 2 years ago. My mom bought it for me when I was a kid, bought the whole series. It's the only book that I had. And I'd never read the book. So I go through it. Guys, every one of these supposed ancestors destroyed in the writing. You got to read it for yourself. It's free. I'm not trying to sell you anything, okay? So let's go to Mr. Nye, and let's have him define evolution for us, and then we're going to see if it works.
Change. Living things change over time. There are little changes and big changes. Whoa. That's evolution.
We're done. We're done, man. No. See, here's the problem. I started out this wide, and I've ended up... If you look at my wedding pictures, I have evolved. I have changed over time, right? So if that's evolution, if you're going to define evolution that way, we lose. I mean, we lose. That's it. We're done. But here's the problem. Oh, I'll show you my wedding picture. I have changed over time, right? But that's not the problem. The problem is, does that change over time accomplish this?
So take a look at this. It's a picture of my parents, and I'm going to make a photocopy of it. Now watch, watch. See, the copy looks just like the original, but not exactly like it. There are some small differences, because there's some small changes that happen every time you make a copy. The same thing happens when living things make copies of themselves, like when they have children. See, the children of living things are always different from their parents, but not completely different. I mean, they're related. They have the same genes.
Okay. Now, when I've got the younger generation, it's very interactive. I'm in and out. What's wrong with this? Well, you know, you're going to hear this in class. What's wrong with this? Does this support the fact that a worm can grow legs, crawl out of the land to become an amphibian, to turn into a rat, to turn into a wolf-like animal, to go back into the ocean, to become a blue whale? And you just can't, the eyes that these guys make, man, I mean, it's just like, well, yeah, that's evolution. Let's go one step further. Take a listen carefully.
See, you and I are the product of billions of years of tiny changes to our DNA. They happen every time living things make copies of themselves. Like every time we have children, when your grandparents had your parents, and when your parents had you. This process of change is called evolution. It's the reason we all look the way we look.
So is that process going to take a worm and have it grow a backbone? Oh, you think I'm joking?
Progressing from simple, spineless shapes to more complex forms, animals develop a backbone and receive the first vertebrates.
Yeah. So the worm grew a backbone, as if just getting a backbone is enough. How about all the nerve endings? How about all the muscles? What about the cartilage? Guys, this is beyond comprehension. Does that mechanism allow for that to happen? So here's the way that I illustrate it for the kids. If you think that mechanism that you just saw would allow for a worm to grow legs, watch this. Guy takes the video, uploads it onto YouTube, downloads it, re-uploads, downloads. Same process with making the picture of a picture of a picture.
I'm sitting in a room different from the one you are in now. I'm recording the sound of my speaking voice, as well as the image of myself. And I'm going to upload it to YouTube, rip it from YouTube, and upload it again and again, until the original characteristics of both my voice and my image are destroyed. I'm sitting in a room different from the one you are in now. I'm recording the sound of my speaking voice, as well as the image of myself. And I'm going to upload it to YouTube, rip it from YouTube, and upload it again and again, until the original characteristics of both my voice and my image are destroyed. I convert it to YouTube on my computer.
So this is the process by which a worm grew legs, to crawl out of the land, to become an amphibian, to grow a backbone.
I'm sitting in a room different from the one you are in now.
His whole mechanism, his whole picture that he showed us is what? Losing information every time you make a copy. By the time you get to the billionth copy of a copy, you won't even be able to tell what it was. It'll be a mess. Look how many generations it takes to lose this. Have you ever had John Sanford out here? John Sanford, man, go back and watch his videos when he talks about genetic entropy. Your children, future children for some of you, will have 100 more significant genetic mistakes than you do. Every generation has 100 more significant genetic mistakes. A whole bunch more. We are mutating. All right? He came up to me. I was speaking wherever he was living at the time, around Cornell University. He came up to me after I'd spoken. He said, "Hey, I'm John Sanford." I said, "The John Sanford? Genetic entropy?" "Yeah." I said, "Dude, I read your book. I understood like 3 paragraphs, right?" It was like the coolest 3 paragraphs that I understood, but it was really, I said, "Man, I need to be listening to you. What are you doing listening to me?" He said, No. Yeah, I just want to come hear you speak. He said, "Carl, people that tell me that this process right here is the process by which, you know, these things could happen, that's the same thing as telling me is I got a 1968 Volkswagen Beetle in my driveway, and I go out and I hit it every day 100 times with a ball peen hammer and think in 1,000 years I'm going to have a Porsche." This is what's happening. And do you see how quick it happened? Your children, future children, will have 100 more significant genetic mistakes. If we had been on this planet, according to the theory of evolution, human beings, have been here for a minimum of 200,000 years, we shouldn't even be here anymore. Because the mistakes by now would have gotten to the point where we wouldn't even be viable. That actually supports the fact that Earth's not millions of years old. And we don't follow people, we follow the evidence. Really? Dr. Lee Spetner, not even one mutation has been observed that adds a little information to the genome. If you want a worm to grow a backbone, you got to add some information. If you want him to grow a leg, you got to add some information. You don't just lose information, you don't rearrange it. All point mutations that have been studied on the molecular level turn out to reduce the genetic information and not increase it. Let's go to he's not a Christian, by the way, but he'd be a creationist. But how about a guy that's not a creationist? Jerry Coyne doesn't like us very much. If truth be told, evolution hasn't yielded many practical or commercial benefits. Yes, bacteria evolved drug resistance. By the way, before I go any further, do bacteria evolve drug resistance? Do mosquitoes evolve resistance to pesticides? No. What you start out with are mosquitoes that have a resistance to a pesticide and don't have a resistance to a pesticide. You spray them. You kill off the majority of the ones that do not have the resistance. The ones that do have it survive. They breed. We get a lot of mosquitoes again. We spray them again. Are we going to kill off as many mosquitoes this time as we did the first time? No. You can get to the point where you spray the mosquitoes and they drink it like Gatorade. Take showers in it because it doesn't bother them. Did they evolve a resistance? No. They already had that information. Same thing here. And yes, we must take countermeasures, but beyond that, there's not much to say. The questioner came back with another question. He said, but hasn't evolution helped guide animal and plant breeding? I love this response here. He said, not very much. Most improvement in crop plants and animals occurred long before we knew anything about evolution and came about by people following the genetic principle of like begets like. By the way, anybody know where the principle of like begets like comes from? God created after his kinds. It came from the Word of God. That's where the real success was made. In science's pecking order, evolutionary biology lurks somewhere near the bottom, far closer to phrenology than to physics. He's not a Christian.
A theory is not a guess. It is a functional explanation of observed natural phenomena that's backed by all the best evidence that we have.
Did I say anything about a theory being a guess? Never even talked about a theory in there. That's the fossil record proves evolution. By the way, go do the research on a definition for theory. You'll be interested to see what you find. I'm not going to do it for you. Go look it up.
But evolution itself is a fact, just like gravity and the shape of the Earth.
I'm going to finish on these two. Like I told you, this is a 5-hour response. So I got to finish up here, right? Because I hear this all the time. Gravity and shape of the Earth. Can we test gravity?
The pull of gravity isn't so strong that we can't raise our arms or anything, but it does pull on everything all the time. So if we're standing on the Earth's surface, it pulls us down toward the center of the Earth. Now we can test this. This is an old idea, but a good one. Watermelon.
Can we test it again? Can we test it again? Somebody please give me an example of how we can test a worm growing legs to crawl out of the land, to become an amphibian, to turn into... Somebody give me an example of how something can come from nothing that we can do this process with. Somebody give me an example of how you can get life from non-life using this process. They are not the same. We can test gravity. We cannot test those others. It's a belief about the past. And I can't believe that in this day and age we're still talking about the shape of the Earth. Sorry. The Earth is round. I know. Shock. Shock. Look, a friend of mine has a dear friend who spent more time in space in 2020 than any other astronaut, period. The guy took a picture My buddy, he's the drummer, former drummer for Casting Crowns. He took up his drumsticks into space and took a picture with his drumsticks in space and gave them to him, so he's got his drumsticks in space on his wall, right? The guy took a picture from space with the drumsticks floating in space with the earth in the background. Dude, earth is round. Get over it. It's not an issue. We don't need to fight over it. When you go through and you watch all these things that he does, the only thing that he dinged us on was the fact that I got the date wrong. I accept it. I do. But when you start looking at all the actual evidence that he throws out there and the quotes that he uses, he never deals with the issue that was raised. He always tries to deflect or go someplace else or beat up on Jay. Jay took a beating, but not over the quote. He took it because he doesn't have a PhD in biology, so he shouldn't be talking about evolution. Well, I don't have a PhD in biology. As you heard at the beginning, I grew up around guys with one name, Crusher, Bruiser, Mauler, Assassin. My dad was a professional wrestler. So I don't have a PhD in science, but you know what I do have? I have a dad that was a professional wrestler. So I grew up smelling a fake and a fraud from a block away. This stuff is fake. And we're losing 50 to 88% of the kids that we raise in the church. They're leaving by the time they're age 18. This is why I will ask you to pray for me. This is why I made a commitment to go after that younger generation. Because Satan's not playing fair. He's going after him. So I made the commitment to go after him. Pray for me, please. You think I don't need it? Tomorrow we're going to be working with youth. Saturday we're going to be working with youth. And I get up in front of them with fear and trepidation. I am not lying. Youth are different. They've changed. They don't ask the same questions that they used to ask. You know, when I got on radio 10 years ago, I could tell you the questions that were going to come because I'd done it so many times. I got on radio today, I can tell you the questions that are going to come, but they're not the questions that were there 10 years ago. They are not the same. Transgender, gay marriage, those are like 1 and 2 of the bullet. I have a few books back there. I've got a few more in the thing. I didn't put a whole lot out. I don't do a lot of selling. I ask for donation. If you can help me, it costs me money to print those things. If you don't have finances and you'll still use it, take it. But the one book that's back there is the questions that the younger generation ask. When I do the camps, when I do a week camp, I hand out index cards. Write down the questions that are keeping you from selling out for the Lord Jesus Christ. Turn it in. That's what we're going to deal with the rest of the week. Those questions are their questions. Did Jesus commit suicide? Hey, if suicide's a sin, Jesus sinned because he committed suicide. Yeah, real question. This isn't the kind of stuff that I got before, man. It's different. So our apologetics is not just creation-based. I am a creationist to the core. It's my foundation, and it gives me the foundation to deal with these other issues. But boy, I got to tell you, things have changed. And so that's 28 questions that we put out there. I asked for a $15 donation. If you can help me, great. If you can't, and you'll still use it, take it. The other book is called Lucy Unlinked, and that is available if you downloaded the app and you go to merch, the very bottom tab, merch, hit it, free PDFs and booklets. It's a 72-page booklet. You can read it for free of charge on the app, but if you're like me and like physical copies, I do have physical copies, and I ask for a $10 donation for that. But it's all donation. Thank you for coming. Thank you for putting up with this. If you want to watch the whole rebuttal, it's in process. I think 5 parts are up on the app right now, and we've got, I think, 4 more to go. So I'll turn it back over to whoever, and I'm glad to take some questions. I am so smart, I can answer every question you ask in 3 languages, because I know how to say I don't know in 3 languages.
Do you have any questions?
Oh, shoot. I was going to say thanks for coming tonight. Ma'am. If you downloaded the app and you go to Carl Kirby, I've got my picture on there, which is very good for keeping mice out of the pantry. But if you hit that, it'll have full-length talks, and inside there's a talk called The Fossils Prove Evolution Debunked, and that's a full-length talk where I go through the phylogenetic charts and all that, use the secular stuff. My approach is to use the secular stuff. I don't use a lot of Christian creationist stuff. I use the secular charts. And so what you're saying is that the formation of the fossils and the distribution of the fossils, what do they support? They actually support what the Bible teaches, very clearly. I'd tell you to come dig dinosaur bones with us in June, but that's already packed. I can't take any more this year. But I take people out, and we go dig fossils. We go look at these things, because what you see in the fossil record screams rapid, catastrophic, and not slow, gradual processes. I used to take people down the Grand Canyon. I quit doing that. I'm getting old. I can't handle it. I'll put you in touch with people that will do it if you want to go do it. It's absolutely worth your trip. You need to do it if you've not done it, and I don't care how mature you are. When I was running the trips, I took an 88-year-old down the trip, and absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it. Go if you can, because when you start looking at the rocks through the lens of God's Word, it screams it. So what you see in the fossil record absolutely supports what Scripture teaches. Through the formation, not just the formation, through the distribution, all of it. The layers, one of the things I love to point out when I do that talk on the geology part, Grand Canyon, are the folding and strata. You know, there's one section where it's over 1,000 feet of sediment. Laminates, just like, I love to use like napkins or sheets of paper when I'm illustrating for kids, and different colored papers or different colored napkins, because it's just like that's what those layers look like. And according to the evolutionary model, each one of those layers took a long time to lay down, lay down, lay down. Well, if you put different color than another color there, and then you fold it so that it gets two 90-degree folds, that's what you see in the actual Grand Canyon, 90-degree folds. How do you bend rock? Heat. But if you heat sandstone up to the point that it's going to become flexible, it's not going to be sandstone. It'll metamorphize. It'll turn into a different type of rock. This is sandstone. It's thousands of feet. And then you look at the actual layers that are in there and the contact points between them. There's geologic ages missing, 135 million years of time between these two that are 90-degree folds. Well, what's the evolutionary explanation? Lays down over millions of years, raises up out of the water for 135 million years, goes back underwater, then the next stuff lays down on top of it. Hold up. It wouldn't follow the folding. The new stuff falling down wouldn't follow those layers. The fact that you find those layers bent in the exact same way at the same place, they had to be laid down, same time, still soft, which, by the way, fits if God judged sense on a global flood, massive amount of dirt laid down over the course of the year. Psalm 104:8, at the end of the flood, he raises the mountains, he lowers the valleys. What should I find in the world around me? Exactly what I see. So teaching the application component is the key. I just think that's what we have to do, is not just teaching what, but how, and how to apply our faith. Pray for us. 3 weeks, I'm hoping that we're going to release our curriculum, first time ever. We have the debunked videos have always been meant to be a hook to get conversations going. Teaching from them is what we've been trying to flesh out, and we're releasing a curriculum that will be for homeschoolers, Christian school, Sunday schools, and using those videos to try to teach how to think. Yes, sir. The first one's going to start junior high school. Eventually, we want to move down to the lower ages, but we have to start somewhere, and so we're going to start junior high school. Yes, sir.
Why don't we do a better job of teaching our junior high and young people before they go off to college how to defend
Absolutely.
their faith in creation?
That's what I'm trying.
College, they can't defend what they've been taught.
My dream project, I don't know, I'm old now, I don't know that I'll ever get to it. I call it the Timothy Project. I collected all of I can take you right now on my computer, I have from kindergarten to second grade, public school, this is what your child will know. Third grade to fifth grade, this is what they will know. Kindergartners, they're not teaching them that they evolved from an ape-like ancestor over millions of years. But they have the standards in place so that when they get to it up at this point, it all makes sense. Show me any Christian curriculum. I want to deal with the Trinity. You got to start down here. You got to start building that in place, build it in place so that when you get to this point, now it all makes sense. We don't have that. And that's been my dream project. I don't know, if anybody knows somebody that's doing that, I will sell it. I don't care if I make a nickel off of it. I'm obviously not in it for the money. I mean, give me a donation for my book, right? Come on. You're not surviving on book sales. But I can't find that stuff. And I think a big part of it is my generation has let this generation down big time. Because I was raised with, for the most part, you just believe. I was never, apologetics, I didn't even know what that word meant till I was in my 30s. Not 28, close enough. It's just never something that's been around. It was just, we were raised with, it's like osmosis. You learn this because we're a Christian nation, we grow up in church, and so we're going to learn these things. But there was never this discipleship component to teach this intentionally on how to take your faith and do something with it. And that's why I've gotten kind of blunt in my ministry as I've gotten older. It's like, guys, memorization without application is worthless. I'm all for scripture memorization. But if you're not teaching application with the memorization, it will not last, because this culture out here knows how to destroy that. So you're absolutely right. We need that. And I'm trying, but I'm a small fry in this big scheme of things, bro. So.
Okay, do we have one more question? Okay, well, let's thank Carl for being here with us tonight. Thank you. That's great. Can we switch here, Carl? Can we switch back? Oh, thank you very much. Okay, tonight's our last meeting of the 2020-2021 year, and I do have just a few announcements for you and some thoughts about some of the things that are coming up this summer. First of all, I just wanted to report back to you on the conference that we did on the 22nd and 23rd of April. Hopefully some of you were able to make it. We did a conference with the Institute for Creation Research. We had 3 of their speakers here. The conference turned out very well. It was very well received. Lots of great comments. The speakers did an excellent job. We had about 200 people attend, so thank you to all those who did. We had 5 exhibitors, so we had a small exhibit area, but it was a start. And we had over 20 volunteers from the Front Range creation groups that all came together to make this happen. So we recorded the entire conference. For those of you that couldn't make it, it's now on our website. There are 7 videos out there, and you're welcome to go out and look at it. If you go to denversocietyofcreation.org and then click on special events, it'll bring up the speakers' biographies, a description of their talks, and then you can click to go to see their talks. So we hope that you enjoy that. Okay, some of the summer events that are coming up. If you're part of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, we have the Rocky Mountain District Convention coming up June 9th and 10th, and that's going to be at the Denver Marriott South at Park Meadows. So we ask you to support our overtures at this district convention. We'll also have a resource table there, so if you'd like to come and look at any of our resources, our books, our DVDs, we have a pretty good collection of them. You're welcome to do that. Just a word about our overtures. You may remember that 3 years ago we went through this process, and overture is the way that we get the attention of the Synod and get them to make statements and to change. And so 3 years ago we did an overture on creation, and the Synod did come out and say they did believe in a 6-day creation. However, they did not specify the age of the earth. They just said they didn't believe in billions of years. So this year, this 3-year cycle, we've come through with another overture that says, you know, biblically, we believe that the earth is I think in the overture it says under 10,000 because we gave them a little bit wiggle room, but we believe it's 6,000. And we have back there the overture, and we have a pamphlet explaining it. Dan, would you hold that up? Hold it up so they can see it back there. So there are those pamphlets back there. If you'd like to pick one up, that explains why we wrote the overture and why we believe that the Bible says that the earth is about 6,000 years old. So take a look at that. We also have an overture for producing biblically faithful textbooks and curricula for our day schools. So many times the teachers in our schools have been taught in secular universities, and they don't understand what they should be teaching about creation. And then we have secular textbooks, and so the combination of that is kind of like the perfect storm, and our children, even in our Lutheran schools, aren't taught about creation. So this overture is aimed at trying to fix that by producing biblically correct textbooks. So we hope that you'll take a look at what we have back there. It's also on our website. Here's some of the things that you can do to help at the district convention or prior to the district convention. First of all, you can let your pastor know very strongly that you support these overtures. Talk to your friends about them. If you find out who your delegate is, there should be a lay delegate and, of course, your pastor to the district convention. Find out who they are. Talk to them about these overtures and ask for their support. If you'd like to have a speaker come to your church, we're more than willing to do that. I have a presentation on why we believe that the Bible says 6,000 years. And I'd be happy to come out and talk about that and talk about the overture. Also, it's important that we have as many districts as possible bring these overtures to the Synod Convention. So if you know people in other districts, contact them, send them a copy of the overture, let them know what we're doing, get them to support their overture in their district. And then write to the leaders in the Synod to express your support for biblical creation. So you can do all of those things, and they really help. The second event coming up is the Rocky Mountain Homeschool Convention or Conference, supported by the Colorado Homeschool Educators. And this is going to be at the Holiday Inn Crown Plaza, June 16th through 18th. And one of the keynote speakers is Ken Ham. And you may want to go and hear that. We also they have a huge exhibitor hall, so we will have a booth there. The Rocky Mountain Creation Fellowship will have one there. Alpha and Omega from Western Colorado will be there as well. And I'm sure Answers in Genesis will have a booth there since Ken Ham is also one of the keynote speakers. Last year there were several creation booths there. This year they've kind of put us all in one spot in the exhibit hall, so I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but we're all together. So if you go to the Czech conference, stop in and see us there. Finally, what's going on this month in creation, the Northeast Colorado Creation Group is having a multi-speaker event. It's a new idea. So they have several speakers who are going to be talking on several of the topics, and the topics include the Ice Age, God's GPS, marine biodiversity, and God's magnet. And one of the speakers is here tonight. Candy, do you want to stand up or wave or whatever? So Candy will be one of their speakers. That'll be Thursday, May 12th, 6:30 p.m. at the Berean Bible Church in Fort Morgan. And then the Rocky Mountain Creation Fellowship is sponsoring a youth conference this weekend, at which Carl will be the keynote speaker. It's called the Fearless Foundation Youth Conference, and that'll be at Airport Boulevard Baptist Church Friday and Saturday, so tomorrow and Saturday. So are you still taking registrations for that if people want to come? Okay, so it's for youth and their parents. And then if you'd like to hear Carl again, he'll also be speaking at the Airport Boulevard Baptist Church on Sunday, the 8th, and he'll be doing 3 talks at the Airport Baptist Church at 9:30, 10:45, and 6 o'clock. So another chance to hear Carl. Rocky Mountain will also, at their regular meeting this month, be hosting David Reeves, and he'll be talking about 21 verses backed by science. So if you missed that a couple of months ago, you can go hear it at Rocky Mountain. And they will have Zoom and live stream sessions available. And then the Pikes Peak Creation Fellowship out of Colorado Springs will also host David Reeves, and he'll be doing Wonders Without Number. And that's on Saturday the 14th at 1 o'clock at Mesa Hills Bible Church. And that's their website there if you'd like more information. Also, just a reminder, we have a mailing list sign up out there. So if you want to get on our mailing list, just sign up in the back. Pick up one of those little books, 32 Questions and Answers about Creation also. Those are excellent. They come from the Institute for Creation Research. Or you can sign up on our website also if you'd prefer. And then just help us get the word out as much as you can. I think we've been growing quite a bit over the past few years, but we need to keep it up. So take some business cards, give them to your friends. There's brochures. As I mentioned, there's the overture and information about it. We are a 501c3, so if you'd like to donate, you can do it. There's a box on the table back there. You can do it on our website. You can contribute by mail. So your donations are tax deductible. Okay, I think that's about all the announcements I have for tonight, unless anybody else has any questions or things they'd like to bring up. Okay, so let's end by praising the Lord. We'll close with the Lord's Prayer, and then we'll sing Thy Strong Word, and there'll be a little introduction in case you're not familiar with the melody for that hymn. So please pray with me. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Okay, to start this. enjoy yourself. There are refreshments in the back. Talk to Carl if you'd like to peruse through the books and the literature back there. And just have a great time, and we'll see you again in the fall. Thank you so much.